Wakey. Hello. This isn't your nice, warm, cozy bedroom. No, it is not. Let's just say that you're off the grid, and we're the department that doesn't exist. Do you know what that means? That means that all the boring procedural stuff like due process, or your right to a lawyer, or laws that say we can't extract information under duress. Poof. None of that exists down here. And it really is amazing how when you become unburdened by all the kind of red tape and bureaucracy, how quickly people get their stories straight and things kind of fall into place. What's that? Oh, we've got the wrong person. You are the first ever person to tell me that. Amazing. Actually, I'll let you in a secret. Every single person who sits in that chair where you are now tells me that. And every single person, by the end, confesses. Every time. Now, if you are the wrong person, that would mean we've got bad intel. And you would genuinely be the first. I mean, is it possible? Statistically, it's possible, but let's be honest, it's unlikely. Now, in a moment, I'm gonna press record on that tape deck over there, and I'm gonna ask you some questions. Here's the good part. We already know some of the answers. Your accomplice, very, very informative. Really, it didn't take long at all for them to flip and give up all the information they have on you. I guess it is true what they say, there really is no honor among thieves. Now, that means that we'll know if you're lying to us. And let me tell you, lying to me is something I strongly do not recommend that you do. Okay. Now, if you make wise decisions, navigate this interview well, and tell us everything you know, then there is a strong possibility that you might actually leave here with the same number of limbs that you came in with. Okay? But if not, then, well, hopefully it won't come to that. Do we understand each other? Good. Interview with suspect 257 beginnings at 0800 hours and 36 minutes. State your name and where you're from. Like loudly so the microphone can pick you up. Good. And what is your occupation? I see. What kind of salary does that pay? Not really adequate, is it? Especially for, it's not just you, it's your whole family. All those hungry mouths to feed. How does it feel living month to month, barely just scraping by? Always the threat of eviction just hanging over your head like a sword of Damocles. It's enough to motivate one to do something truly desperate. Okay. And what about your relationship to Mr. Molyneux? Having a little bout of amnesia, are we? Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. This here, that's you. And this man, seemingly in deep conversation with you, is Dominic Molyneux, is it not? So, jogged your memory, did we? Good. Now, I'm going to ask you again. And this time, try to be a little more truthful. Your relationship with Dominic Molyneux. Describe it for me. Okay. Well, we've gone from don't know him to best friend very quickly. So, given the apparent closeness of your relationship with Mr. Molyneux, it would be fair to assume that you're aware of his occupation? Correct. Yep. And did Mr. Molyneux ever discuss his work with you? He didn't. So, he wouldn't have, for instance, mentioned that his position as teller in the bank would have given him access to otherwise heavily guarded areas. He didn't mention that he'd ever planned to use this to his advantage, or perhaps he had access to an awful lot of money. Yeah. See, Mr. Molyneux's phone was seized along with his other belongings, and even though he clumsily tried to wipe all the messages and data, our lab rats, they're very smart. They managed to reverse the wipe, giving us access to all of his messages, both sent and received. And it says here that you clearly did discuss his work. Now, you didn't go into too much detail, but I'm going to give you a second chance to answer this again. Otherwise, I'm going to start breaking things. Now, when he brought it up, what was said? So, you're saying that Mr. Molyneux pitched his idea to you about stealing the money from the bank, which we've got on the text, and your instinct was to decline it and say that you're not interested, which would be believable if you'd said that in the text. The text clearly showed that you agreed to meet with him at a cafe, hence the CCTV. Now, what I'm struggling to understand is, if you wanted no part in what he was proposing, why wouldn't you just say that? It's quite an easy answer. Why would you agree to go meet up with him in person? Unless, of course, you didn't want to discuss it over the messages and leave a paper trail for people like me to uncover. Okay, so April 27th. That's 2 months after these text messages are exchanged and you agree to meet with Mr. Molyneux. So, suppose that I do believe you the first time you actually did say you're not interested. We have statements from the waitress who said she overheard talk of getaway drivers, drop-off locations. Interesting dinner talk, really, isn't it? I mean, are you an avid GTA Online player planning a little heist in a cafe? See, here's where it gets really interesting. 1 week after your rendezvous with Dominic Molyneux, the bank that he works at was hit and $20 million was stolen. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when banks are held up for robberies, the cashiers have a big stack of notes under the desk, and when instructed to put money into the bag or whatever it is the criminals give them, this stack will always go in first. And do you know why that is? because that stack is marked. This means that if anybody tries to use this cash or put it into circulation, then we ping. That's right, we can see where it pops up. Now, peculiarly, it seems that the first transaction after the robbery with the cash that was involved was 100 miles away at a store called Bargain Buy. Does that mean anything to you? No? No. Think again. Think a little harder. Bargain Buy. Does it ring a bell? Well, according to publicly available records, your cousin owns that store. That's a coincidence, isn't it? Did you see Mr. Molyneux any time after the 27th? You didn't. See, I'll fill you in on what our working theory is. I think that Mr. Molyneux realized his position as bank teller gave him internal access to an awful lot of money. Now, he could just steal it and make his way off into the sunset, but it's not a lot of use having $20 million if you can't spend any of it. Now, who does he know who has connections to local run businesses, places that could clean the money, make it legitimate? I believe they call that money laundering. You? That's right. His best friend. So, Mr. Molyneux contacts you, brings you into a cafe, and he tells you his plan, and at first, I believe you. I think you get cold feet, and you say, no, I don't want any part in this. And then the months tick on, the weeks go by, the rent stacks up, the debt stacks up. Why is there no food? Say the kids. Partner looking at you like you're a failure. And all the meanwhile in the back of your head, just that niggling thought, you don't want to live like this anymore. So the next time Mr. Molyneux asks, your answer changes. This time, you want to know the risks involved. You don't want any part of it at the front line. You don't want to get your feet wet. You just want to sit back as far away as possible because that, you thought, would keep you safe. Wrong. No. Mr. Molyneux assures you that it's going to be fine. He's got it all figured out. Yeah. So you agree to take the money that he gives you, that he stole, and filter it through your family business, through your cousin's family business, through various different avenues until months and months go by. It's gone to here, it's gone to here, it's gone to here, it's gone to here, and eventually that dirty money that was clearly stolen, now it's clean. It's just more free money in an economy, and you can spend all you want. But you fucked up. You fucked up really badly. The irony is, if that cashier had not put the marked bills in with the money, you would be home free by now. You would be sat on a yacht with your family, thinking life just could not get any better. However, we get pinged and we trace it to your cousin's store. We look into your cousin. We say, who does this man know that may link him to Dominic Molyneux? Now, we've already got Molyneux. We've got him on CCTV. He was the only teller that wasn't in work the day of the robbery. I mean, he really didn't think his plan out at all. But who links him to you? Well, his best friend, his loser best friend. Yeah, his loser best friend is a cousin. Cousin runs a few family businesses. You run a couple of businesses, all failing, of course. But then the pieces start to fit together. We lift the phone records, we look into the phone, and you were careful, but not careful enough. You say, we'll discuss it in person, or I'm not interested, but let's meet for dinner. Now, you are right. we don't have any access to the conversations that you had there, but we don't need to. Do you see where I'm going with this? Okay, I'll level with you. I'll tell you as it is. Dominic Molyneux is looking at 25 to life in prison, okay? Now, you can play this one of two ways. If you want to keep going down the path of denying, resisting, I can guarantee you that you will be convicted of this, and a judge will not look favourably on a perpetrator trying to cover their tracks. They don't every time. I can tell you, I've seen a million court cases, and never does it end well. That's option one. Option two is you help us fill in the blanks, tell us everything that you know, tell us everything that Dominic Molyneux said to you, tell us everything that you agreed to, come clean completely, and put in an early guilty plea. That can be the difference between, well, I mean, you'd be an accomplice. That means you're just as culpable as Mr. Molyneux is, so that would be 25 to life for you as well, or with an early guilty plea and a word from myself saying you were very cooperative and very helpful and really a linchpin in this whole case. Well, maybe that starts looking like 10 years. 10 years starts looking like 6 years with good behavior. Really, this is the only positive outcome for you. Take your time. It's a big decision. Well, in that case, I'm gonna go draft up a little statement. I'm gonna come back and you're gonna help me fill in some of the missing details. There's an area at the bottom. I'm gonna give you this pen and you're gonna sign your name on the dotted line, okay? And when it comes to the court case and the judge says, how do you plead? You're gonna answer, guilty. Good. As I told you at the beginning, everybody who sits in that chair says the same thing at the start, and by the end, they always confess.